Hey, this is Mike Casey. I'm president and founder of TigerCom, the clean tech PR firm leader. I'm also the co-host of Renewable Energy World's weekly news roundup, This Week in Clean Tech. And with me today at Distribute Tech from the show floor are two account managers with NV5 Geospatial. I've got Lexi Foytik. How are you?
Doing well.
And Jamie McMillan. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm great.
Okay. Let me tell you about our guests a little bit first. Lexi is responsible for account management, development, relationship building efforts with electric utilities throughout the western U.S. She also has experience with geospatial projects, including vegetation management, wildfire mitigation, and various engineering purposes. Prior to joining NV5G, Lexi worked as a natural resource specialist for a Western utility managing enterprise-wide geospatial data, FERC compliance, biological and cultural compliance. She's currently getting her master's in GIS and remote sensing. Safe to say she's part of the analytical side of her brain, right? Okay,
Yes.
Good. And Jamie is a dedicated advocate for utility clients. She specializes in guiding them through the entire process of implementing or enhancing remote sensing programs. She's based in the Southeast, and she concentrates on the eastern and central U.S. regions. Her background includes experience on the field services side, where she contributed to storm response efforts and provided consultancy in utility forestry with ECI Environmental Consultants. She's got knowledge and hands-on experience, making her an invaluable asset in the realm of remote sensing utility service. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. Okay, what are the circumstances resulting in a need to change disaster response within a utility? Either one of you.
Yeah, so the immediate thought is that we all observe climate change in our world, and that is resulting in a higher frequency of these high impact events, necessitating a need for utilities to focus on the safety of their assets and their systems and what could be a threat to those systems during these catastrophic events, and also utilizing this data that's collected to make decisions to move forward in recovery efforts.
With all the changes in environmental conditions, what data becomes important to have in decision making?
Yeah, absolutely. I can talk to that. So that's a great place where NV5 Geospatial comes in. To start, we want to tell you where your assets are. So a lot of GIS at utilities, and I can speak from that because I worked for a utility, so I know, but a lot of times the GIS can be a little bit off and you're not sure exactly where your assets are. So part of what we do at NV5 Geospatial is collecting that LiDAR data, that imagery, so we can really pinpoint and tell you exactly where your assets are on your system, which is really the first step that you want to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
We acquire the data, analyze the data, deliver it in a way that's most usable for your utility and to meet your needs.
Yeah. And then once you know where your assets are, the next thing you start to think about is vegetation management.
Correct.
And do you want to talk a little bit about our...
We have a robust approach to vegetation management. In simple terms, vegetation management 101, you want to know what trees are where that could put your system at risk and how to best utilize the budget that you're given, and you have to operate within those confines to address this risk. So we have analytics that show, danger trees, off right-of-way tree that put your system at risk, that could fall-ins, grow-ins, to help you adhere to federal requirements, keeping it safe for everyone involved, helps you level the field with contracting, with trimming crews. So we start with the GIS locations of the poles and then start analyzing what's around them.
Yeah, and to kind of dive into some of that, one of the things that we do that really stands out is rapid reporting. So we turn around your highest threats on your system within 2 weeks, which is really fast for a lot of geospatial projects. The rapid reporting looks at the highest threat. So that can be, anything encroaching into NVCD if you're looking at FERC lines, action thresholds that the utility has set. And this will be at flown conditions, so you get a snapshot of what that looks like at that moment. Right. Another thing that we do, kind of getting farther into the geospatial world, is looking at modeling your system. And so that looks like, you have your at-flown deliverables, but then you can model what your lines look like when you have a certain amount of load go through them, or when you have certain weather conditions, certain temperatures, wind speeds. You can really model that and see what vegetation will be impacted. And that's really valuable because, all the time, your field folks won't always be able to tell once they're out, on a sunny, cool day, what that system looks like when it's, 100 degrees outside, if it gets that hot where you live, and has, 46 mile an hour winds. So that really gives you a snapshot into those kind of conditions.
Mm-hmm.
What are the ways that this data provided by NV5 can help utilities with more effective planning and risk-informed decision-making?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. A lot of what we're seeing with our utility clients is for them to take a programmatic approach to geospatial data. So that can look like acquiring data every year or acquiring it if the utility is on a vegetation management cycle, acquiring before you work that next year's cycle or that year's cycle. And this programmatic approach really allows you to build that view of change over time on your system, especially with going back to what Jamie was saying, with climate change impacting, really everywhere. But I'm partial to the western U.S., but, we're seeing a lot of drought. We're seeing a lot of wildfire issues. So being able to build that view of change, mostly in vegetation, it really gives you a great snapshot into how your system is doing. And a lot of our utilities, too, are building it into their wildfire mitigation programs and plans.
Just simply, the more information you have, the better decision maker you can be.
Exactly.
And you can be, the powers that you're beholden to, whether it's the users of your system or your management, you have to provide answers as to where their dollars are going and how they're being spent. And if you have data to back that up, it has better results and more comfort.
Right, yeah. Having that proactive approach and data-driven approach is really beneficial to a multitude of different entities.
Nice, okay.
Yeah.
Is there a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to what data utilities should have and be using?
Right, absolutely not. This is a multifaceted approach, lots of information being collected and analyzed, and we have experts in the field that will work one-on-one with your utility to determine what are the problems that you're facing. It's different regionally. What budget are you working with? It's different for every utility, and every department within every utility has their own levers to pull. So NV5 has the ability to sit down, make a programmatic approach, like Lexi was saying, to your vegetation management program, figure out what gives you the most bang for your buck. Are you spending your dollars effectively? What could we adjust that you maybe didn't think of to make things more accessible, make the contracting process easier?
Yeah. Yeah, and we scale from all sizes of utilities. We work, we can do a 10-mile survey or we can do thousands of miles. So we scale up from the smallest to the largest. Okay. And we also pride ourselves on being a partner throughout the entire process. So we want to help you plan with whatever your budget is, like you were saying, like budget, needs. We pride ourselves on being a partner throughout that whole process.
We have multiple modalities of collection, from straight wing aircraft to helicopter to unmanned aerial systems to, we even have a boat now.
We have several boats now.
It's exciting. To collect data in multiple different ways and deliver it to you in multiple different ways. We don't just throw it over the fence, there's your data in a giant file by, we have, people to help in every part of the process we're just invested in it. This is something that we care about in the industry, and we get really good feedback from our clients on our participation throughout.
And building on the education piece, we have recently started doing consulting because we do have a lot of utilities who the remote sensing world can be quite overwhelming. There's a lot of players, and it's hard to know where to exactly start. And so we've started with consulting and kind of teaching utilities what the different technologies are and how they can apply them, and applying them to different business units within the utility and regulatory compliance. So it's a lot to navigate, but like I said, we do really enjoy being that partner and pride ourselves on being a part of it.
Find out, if you come to the table thinking that everybody knows everything, you miss out on the opportunity for remote sensing 101, vegetation management 101. Get back to the simple components of these decisions being made.
Absolutely.
Nice. All right, last question. As we know in this industry, safety is the number one priority. How does NV5 support that?
No, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is remote sensing data provides safety because it pulls people out of the field. Jamie and I were talking earlier, and she told me something that I heard so often when I was at the utility was driving is the most dangerous thing that people do at utilities. And when you're sending field service people out there, that is that field time, that's that drive time. But when you have that snapshot of remotely sensed data, those people don't have to visit the field as often. I'm sure, they'll still have to get out there, but it is just giving them a view without sending them into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it enhances the safety, of your day-to-day activities. And NV5 Geospatial was the first geospatial company to achieve ISBAO certification, which is the highest level of safety certification that you can have in the industry. So we were very proud of that. It's a highly rigorous process, and we hold safety to the highest standard.
Yeah, and we also work with all the vendors on your system too when we're acquiring data. So that can look like working with the FAA, local airports, landowners, Forest Service, all of that. So we have that open communication with all of the different players at the table, which I think, better communication does result in higher safety.
Agreed.
Well, Lexi, Jamie, thank you for joining us here at Distributech. This has been really an interesting conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your
Thanks
time.
for having us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.